First up is Mayor Tim Keller to talk about this unprecedented early winter storm.
All right, thanks. I didn't do that. All right, well, good afternoon, folks. And as usual, we want to provide a city update across the board on many different issues facing the city during the storm. And so we're going to do kind of a sound off by department because it's truly a one Albuquerque effort. And we like to essentially also provide folks, especially today, you know, we saw the sun come out at noon and so forth, but we're reflecting on yesterday and preparing for tomorrow. So as anticipated, this is definitely the last 2 nights, and tonight is actually going to be much colder. So at a high level, I'm just going to summarize a couple of things, and then we'll hear from our department experts. First and foremost, we had all 70 DMD trucks plowing last night, and our roads looked pretty good this morning. So it's a credit to them. And of course, also weather plays a role in that. But in general, DMD was ready and was out there with all 70 trucks. So we were at full force last night. And I think it showed in general, good conditions this morning. There's always, of course, different exceptions. A reminder, we always do plowing on main arteries first and then sort of work our way to smaller streets. And so that will continue to be the case tonight. And that's how we prioritize things. We're well aware of the valley effect, so we do want to acknowledge that, especially Rio Rancho, which we obviously don't take care of, but certainly in the far west side and the far east side, the conditions were much, much worse, and that's where we were focused. In the valley, things were actually pretty smooth, and so that's obviously why I didn't see a lot of trucks out down in the valley. Now, the biggest challenge we had, of course, this time around was really around electricity, and we appreciate P&M's hard work. We're going to hear from them in just a moment. But for us, we had 21 traffic lights out or flashing. And of course, fallen trees. We always see that, especially with the heavy, wet snow. A lot of those old cottonwoods and so forth, we had at least 37 fallen trees. And then clogged drains. And so that always happens, which of course is a freezing issue for later tonight. And in the spring, that leads to potholes. So we were looking at 13 drains reported that were clogged. So we know that about 46,000 customers had power challenges, and we'll hear details on that in just a moment. Some other miscellaneous notes. The Sunport generally was unaffected, and our multi-gen and community centers were actually operating today after a morning delay. And the biopark really just had, the Botanic Gardens was closed today, and the zoo had actually a heavy snow load on different trees. So I think the other thing I would add is, of course, we're trying to make sure that everyone has a warm place and shelter, as we do every night, but especially when the weather is this cold. And so we did have several emergency homeless transports for our unhoused community. That's a good thing. That's what ACS is here for. So we'll talk about those transports. And we did have room at our shelter last night, and we have room in our sheltering systems tonight as well. So again, the important thing is it's available. We want people to take advantage of it. And more details on that if folks have questions. So let's begin our roll call, and we're going to begin with Police Department. I think we have Chief Brown.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. A couple things I want to speak to this afternoon are, as we can all tell, it's cold. It's wintertime. So as we look at road conditions in the last 24 hours, to put it in perspective for everybody, we've had about 104 traffic accidents without injury since 8 o'clock yesterday morning. We've had 20 with injury. So over 120 accidents in the last 12 hours. That means speed's a factor, weather's a factor, and four-wheel drive doesn't mean that you can drive any better than anybody else. So make sure that you leave on time. So if you have to be somewhere in this inclement weather, give yourself enough time to get there. Make sure that you drive for conditions, not just for what the current speed limit says. If it's icy, if it's wet, slow down. Look for the obstacles in the road. Look for the things that could have fallen off the trees. It's a heavy, wet snow. It creates down trees, down issues, things you can't see, hidden obstacles like that, so slow down. Another thing that we've kind of run into in this last storm is as the mayor spoke about, the traffic lights being out. If you come to a traffic light that's out, please treat those as four-way stop signs. Those are, right now, a large culprit in a lot of our wrecks. So make sure you slow down, approach those areas with caution, and give the right of way and be patient. Biggest thing, be patient with each other. Like, this is gonna go dry it out in a couple days, but for right now, please be safe and drive careful. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. All right, and next up, our fire rescue department. I think we have our Lieutenant Jason. Yeah, come on up.
Thank you all for coming out. We'll just give you a couple updates from the fire side of things. I'm Lieutenant Jason Fair. I'm the Public Information Officer. We didn't experience any sort of service deliveries last night with the inclement weather. We respond in all types of weather 24/7, so it's just another challenge for us to overcome as part of our response. With the cooler temperatures that we're experiencing, we do see an increase in the number of outside fires we're responding to. This past Saturday, we put Brush 3 into service to start handling some of that load and increase in call volume. Brush 3 has been in service again since Saturday. It's done about 130 responses in the past 24 hours. It's handled about 30 outside fire calls. We're also partnering with ACS. So as the mayor mentioned, that there's open beds. We make contact with some of those people that might be having warming fires, experiencing homelessness. If they do want contact or connection with some of those services, we can put them in contact with ACS for transportation to a shelter. The crew on Brush 3 is also handing out blankets and jackets for those that choose not to go to the shelter. The mayor touched on it, and I'm sure P&M's going to have some things to answer about this as well. But the biggest challenge we've seen with this storm has been electrical emergencies. So in the past 24 hours, we've run or responded to over 100 emergencies that are related to exterior electric. So down lines, arcing lines, they mentioned falling trees. So that's a big number for us. We don't take any part in the actual repair or the outage side of it, but if people see arcing lines and or some small fires, lines down, that does generate a response from the fire side. We'd like to remind everybody, if you do see a line down, just treat it like it is live. It doesn't matter what kind of line you might think it is, treat it as live. P&M will probably have some more to touch on that as well. So again, the biggest challenge for us that we've seen from the storms, the electrical side of it, there's still a lot of people without power, so please don't get creative in your homes trying to heat them. Don't use your stovetop or oven to try to heat your home. It can create dangerous levels of carbon monoxide. So that's about it from the fire side, and bring the mayor back up here.
All right, thanks, Lieutenant. Okay, and on our community safety efforts, Director Escobar.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Jody Escobar. I'm the Director of Albuquerque Community Safety. I kind of want to pause and say I'm so thankful that we started our transport early this year, and we said that we were ready for the cold weather to come, and then it came. And so we were ready with the transport service last night. And since initiating this service on the 1st, for the last 6 days, we've had over 50 transports in the nighttime hours of 8 p.m. to 7 a.m., which is when you can utilize the emergency transport to any of the shelters. And so I do want to mention that number and those times again, just so that that's available for everybody. It's 8 p.m. from 7 a.m., 8 p.m. to 7 a.m., and that number is 505-418-6178. And we just ask you, as this number starts to get more busy, as when people are calling, to stay in the location once they call so that we can find you quick and easy. And please, please, please reach out. We're here to make sure that everybody has a safe place to stay. Thank you. Please, if you have any questions, please.
Thanks. All right, and that's a good segue into our Health, Housing, and Homelessness Department. And just as a reminder, this department actually was created only about 6 years ago, and ACS was just created 3 years ago. But these two departments work in tandem to make sure that if they choose, everyone has a warm place to be tonight and transportation to it. And that's the same goes for this evening. So our director, Gilbert Ramirez.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Gilbert Ramirez. I'm the Director for Health, Housing, Homelessness. I'm very pleased to say that, as we announced last week in preparation for this, we had to activate our plans and collaboration immediately for this drop in temps. So temperatures did go down a little bit, and so we were preparing. We monitored our bed counts at the shelter. We did have ample beds available. We're seeing a slight increase in that. And so we are prepared if we need to stand up an additional 20 at our first responder site, or we can go even further with 30. So our plan for implementation is there in regards to that. A couple of things I just want to remind folks on, is in regards to these drops in temps. the shuttle is vital in encouraging folks to either get that outreach and or transportation. Again, from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. with ACS, it's been very helpful. I know she shared the number. That's important to be able to circulate when these temperatures drop, to encourage individuals that we can get you to one of our entry points for shelter and keeping you warm to avoid any kind of major loss of life and or frostbite, etc. Lastly, the partnership, I want to give a little bit of update. Both Fire and ACS, they do amazing outreach work, and one of the things we tried to provide them with this year was some resources, coats, blankets, etc. I do have some counts on that so far since the temps dropped and we made our announcement. We had 160 coats, 124 pairs of insulated pants, and 100 blankets that have been given to our teams, and my understanding have been issued outward. So a tremendous job for those who are choosing to stay outside, but at least have a resource and some additional items. With that being said, I know Fire is doing a donation drive, and I will echo, we can always use more blankets and coats. We'll take those donations and partnerships so we can continue to give those out. Lastly, just again, should there be a need for expansion, we are prepared if we had to open up a community center for additional sites as well as a multi-gen center. But right now, our temp on it is we have space on the west side facility and we're able to increase capacity at our Gateway Center site should we need. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Gilbert. And also our transit system was functioning today a little bit late because of the traffic lights primarily. So with more on that and expectations for tomorrow, our director, Leslie Keener.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Leslie Keener, the Transit Director. So we had staff showing up this morning at about 3:30. They quickly realized that we had some issues with the road conditions. At about 4 o'clock this morning, we made the decision to delay the start of all ABQ ride services until 8 o'clock. That includes Fixed Route, ART, our Sun Vans, and ABQ Connect, our microtransit service. At 7:30, we made another call to resume all services except our ART. At that time, we extended the delay for ART to 10 o'clock due to adverse road conditions and the power outages that were affecting our ART signals along the central corridor. So these delays really ensured the safety of our drivers and passengers, and they also helped to protect our fleet until we were comfortable with the street conditions. Especially in our articulated 60-foot ART buses, they tend to not handle that great in the icy road conditions. However, at that time, we did also have duplicative service on our Route 66 buses on the central corridor, in which we did increase that bus service to help with the transport of the people. When we wake up to adverse weather conditions, our team will likely be getting information out in the early morning hours to update the public on service cancellations or delays, and we'll continue to do that throughout the day. And though bus service may be suspended, our staff is out monitoring conditions, as well as clearing the facilities, park and rides, and helping with the roads. So for the rest of the season, the best place to find up-to-date information is on abqride.com and by downloading the Transit app. We're proud also that our customer service team does operate 365 days a year, and they'll continue to operate with inclement weather unless notified on our channels. They do run from 8 to 5. Also, even if there are delays or closures, you can still submit CSA reports through the app if you spot any safety concerns that are out there. So we'll continue to work our best to always alert the public to our service changes and all available channels, including with the press, on social media, monitoring messages on ART platforms, and with app notifications.
All right, and a little bit about all the work being done to repair the electrical issues from P&M, Jeffrey Buell.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Buell. I am the manager of corporate communications for P&M. I have some information to share today. I wanted to start with just noting that this really is an unprecedented storm in the fact that it came so early and so heavily while leaves were still on the trees, and that has caused limbs to be much heavier than they would normally be. And as you've probably seen for yourselves, that has caused a lot of broken tree limbs around the city. I would like to underscore what the the lieutenant from the fire department said. If you see a line on the ground, assume that it is energized, and also be aware that there are still wet conditions making it doubly hazardous. So please stay as far away from that as you can. And call PNM at 888-DIAL-PNM to report any down lines or outages that you are worried are not known by us at this time. At the peak of this incident, we had 50,000 customers without power throughout our system, mostly in the Albuquerque metropolitan area, in Santa Fe and to the north. At this time, we still have 35,000 customers without power. Of those, approximately 14,000 are here in the city of Albuquerque. We expect to have several thousand of those customers restored in the next couple of hours, but there are hundreds of smaller outages throughout the metropolitan area. That means hundreds of separate repair jobs for our crews to get to. We have more than 100 crew members out there right now, and we have asked for mutual assistance from some of our neighboring utilities. So we expect to have more people in the field soon, restoring power as quickly as possible. We do expect, though, because of the large number of individual outages and the continuing bad weather, that it could be quite an extended period of time before we get every customer back online. And in some isolated instances, we want to ask customers to be prepared to be without power overnight. We don't expect that to be a lot, but we do want to give some advance warning as temperatures are going back down later today. Safety is our top priority for both our customers and employees, so I would like to once again reiterate, please stay away from down power lines and keep as much distance as you can. Please also be aware of our crews who are working on power lines throughout the city all day today. Most of those power lines are adjacent to roadways, so please slow down, be aware, and make sure that they get home to their families safely tonight as well. Thank you again. We'll be providing more updates throughout the day, and we also have a power outage map available on our website at pnm.com, where you can also get up-to-date information as we restore customers. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. That is the leaves on tree snow effect. Learn something new every day, but makes a lot of sense. So now let's bring up from Public Works and our roads, et cetera, Deputy Director Sanchez.
Thank you, Mayor. I first want to start off by thanking our DMD road crews team, who for the last week has been out assessing weather patterns and conditions in preparation for this storm. Our entire team came in at midnight to begin monitoring all the road conditions, and it was about 2 a.m. this morning when all of our 20 trucks were deployed. I'd like to give a shout out to Fred Montoya, our superintendent, who's responsible for the entire deploying of our team and making sure that our streets were safe. As of 6:30, we had all of our trucks out, as Mayor indicated, 70 trucks, 70 personnel that were out there who were picking up, in addition to making sure that our streets are safe. We're picking up down trees, also cleaning and clearing out storm drains. We have used our regular road salt this morning. Behind us, we have what's called ice slicer salt for anything that's 23 degrees and below that we would deploy to use to make sure that all of our ice on the streets are taken care of. One of the things that we introduced new this year is called brine, and this brine is a mixture of water and salt that's deployed prior to a weather system coming through or weather patterns that helps alleviate all of the snow as it's dropping down on our roadways. So we already have 30 staff that are on standby, as we know that this storm is going to continue to bring more snow, and I'm prepared to address that. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much. And solid waste, I know I saw the trucks running out there today. Director Billy Gallegos.
Thank you guys this afternoon. My name is Billy Gallegos, Director of Solid Waste. Just some of the things that Solid Waste did. We've had some of our employees come in since 3 o'clock, our safety team. We went through, not only are we on the major streets, but as you all know, residential trash pickup, which is probably our more robust area where we're at. So we had them go through the residential areas. We held them back. We started a little bit later. So if you're normally feel like you get your trash early, it will be a little bit later when you get it. So, please stand by. Just note, if we don't get it today, we will get it by tomorrow. I know you can call 311, but again, we will be getting it by tomorrow. We have been working side by side with DMD. We've been helping them with their fallen trees throughout the city. I know Montano, Montgomery got hit pretty hard. We've been out there. Again, if you're a contractor and you're going to our city Sierra Colorado landfill, we won't take you if you do not have four-wheel drive. There's a lot of snow on that side of town, which is like 20 miles from here, west. So again, be patient with us. We are going to get it. If you have any concerns or you're trashed, you can call 311. But again, thank you.
Thanks so much. We got a few more departments for you, and then of course we'll take questions. But of course our four-legged friends also have all sorts of challenges when the weather gets really cold. So with more on that, our Animal Welfare Director Ortega.
Good afternoon. I'm Carolyn Ortega. I'm the Director of Albuquerque Animal Welfare. And the common misconception is because pets have fur that they don't get cold. That is not true. They absolutely get cold. If you are cold, they are cold. So we highly encourage everybody, especially overnight, to bring your pets indoors. If you cannot have them indoors full time and they have to be outside any length of time, please ensure that they have proper housing outside, a good place to stay warm. And if you can't afford a dog house, we absolutely have dog houses that are available for you. You can go to our website and sign up. And the best way to insulate dog houses that you already have is to use straw. So we do have straw that's available to everybody for free. You can go to the Westside Animal Shelter, stop by, grab some straw and insulate those dog houses to make sure that they are safe and warm. For our stray pets, if you see a stray pet, especially in this cold weather, please call 311. Get us that information so that we can do the best we can to get out there quickly and get them into a warm place to stay while we get them reunited with their families. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay, thank you so much. And a little bit on our, of course, the largest, most popularly visited place in the state is always our zoo. And so with that and some updates on libraries and other city facilities, Tanya Lenti.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for your care and concern for our shared arts and cultural facilities as we do get impacted by extreme weather. We do have a couple of closures. The ABQ Biopark Zoo and Botanic Garden will remain closed today. That is a precaution due to the downed tree branches and the heavy load on trees at the facilities. As the mayor mentioned, we do have some older cottonwoods as part of our natural landscape, and so we want to make sure that we take care of all of that before we welcome the public back into our facilities. The East Mountain Library branch will remain closed throughout the day, as will our historic home in Corrales, Casa San Isidro. That will remain closed for tours today due to an earlier power outage. The best place to get arts and culture updates with this weather is our social media channels. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so thanks so much. I think I'll bring up Dan to lead us in some Q&A, and then we'll just remind folks, you know, all of you all know better about the weather with your weather people than we do, but it's supposed to be around 26 tonight, and just as a reminder, if it gets below 23, there's no chemical or anything that we've got that is going to stop the streets from freezing. So if it gets below 23, we definitely ask, please avoid the roads at all costs until things warm up. But up until that point, our material should at least help in those major intersections.
All right, thank you. If anybody has any questions for the directors, now's a good chance. All right.
I think this is a question for P&M. So we had mentioned that the heavy wet snow would bring tree branches down. Do you expect that would be the same for power lines tonight, or was last night kind of the worst of what we're going to see?
I'm not aware of the latest forecast for tonight's weather, but if there's more heavy wet snow, I think that there's a possibility that there will be new additional outages, and we are preparing for that.
And then I do want to add, I didn't mention it earlier. I talked to the gentleman here from P&M earlier. If you do see a line down, it definitely warrants a call to 911. Our dispatch will coordinate with them, or if they get the call first, they'll coordinate with us. But if you do see a line down, if you see a line arcing, or any sort of transformer issue, smoking or on fire, definitely call 911. It's definitely a good reason to call, and then we'll coordinate it on our end to see if P&M's going to come out with us or ahead of us, or if we're going to go together and work all that stuff out. But yeah, I should have said that earlier. If you see a line down, call 911.
I had a question for Gilbert Ramirez. You mentioned that there were 2 locations that could potentially open if needed, and how many people could those 2 locations hold?
Yes, so our first responder area can go up to 20 beds, which is the Gateway Center. If we need to activate that, there's a separate building that we could activate an additional 30 beds there as well. And if we needed to go even further, we could leverage a community center in which we could easily go up to 50 more at each site. So we're prepared in that area. We have cots. We work with Office of Emergency Management to kind of say if we need to stand that up, we'll be prepared for those locations. And they are more centrally located inside, not on the west side.
Are you guys tracking the number of people who are declining to go to the shelters? And if so, kind of what's their reason?
Our department, no, because we don't do that outreach. I can't speak on behalf of Fire ACS if they note that information. We track the beds, availability, the holds, and what's there so that we can constantly say, do we need to predict to open up, expand, and or shorten? But not our particular department. I'm not sure if ACS does. Yeah.
Hi, thanks for the question. We are tracking how many interactions we're having with the community, and so I guess we could deduct how many people are declining the services versus how many people are taking transport. But we're really just trying to focus on really good outreach to try to make sure that, and convince people to take the opportunity. And with first responder drop-off, I'll say that we didn't have that last winter, and so I think that's making a difference. And I know that ACS, like Director Ramirez was saying, that I can't speak necessarily for their numbers, but I know that we've had a lot of people take us up on transport, and so like that feels good. And so I hope that continues.
Can I add to that too?
Yes.
So from the fire side of it, like I was just out last night with the brush truck and making contact with some of these individuals, and most of them did decline. So the only thing that we're tracking is the actual fire response of it, and then as they also mentioned, how many actual jackets or blankets we're giving out. So it's not a data point that we're looking at. We're just, as they said, we're focusing on the outreach, and hopefully the more of these connections that we make, people might be more willing to go.
And how many blankets and jackets do you guys have left to give out?
I don't even know how much we got originally. We're giving out a lot of them though.
So I think we had 6 pallets, and I think we're down to the last 2. So I emphasized earlier, Fire's doing a donation drive. I think we'll partner with that and say we can take donations of blankets and coats. And yes, that data point is being tracked. I kind of mentioned the numbers earlier of how many we've provided out. So I could say anywhere from 125 to 160 blankets have been given out, which may reflect individuals who have declined shelter. So, all right.
For the ACS director, I'm curious, how many people do you have dedicated to outreach right now?
That's a great question. The Department of Albuquerque Community Safety, I would feel like, that everybody is being proactive and watching the streets, and so if we're seeing people that we think that are at risk, then we're making sure that gets outside of our regular 911 dispatch. We're making sure that is relayed to our transport team and or our street outreach team. And so it's really an all hands on deck kind of movement right now. And I do want to just say really, really quick is that something that I feel like we haven't necessarily nailed in the past is like the real collaboration between AFR, APD, and HHH, and like how closely we're working together with the jackets and all of the outreach. And we're getting calls from AFR and APD asking us out to their location for people that want and need transport. And I think that's a really cool highlight that the city is collaborating on in a way that we haven't before.
If anybody's got any more weather-related questions, if you need to pull asides to anybody, let me know. If you need spellings or anything of the directors' names, corner me and I can make sure you guys get that. And thanks a lot for coming. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck tonight.